on social media, we're seeing post after post about all these accidents and people complaining that we shouldn't be showing these accidents. But there's a good part of it. We're going to find out what that is.
In the hangar.
Mark, it's so great to catch up with you here at AirVenture.
Yeah, thanks. It's great to be back.
Oh, it's really cool weather this year.
I noticed that. I was actually thinking I got a new bus. And I'm like, my air conditioner works so great. My wife says, well, we don't know yet because it's been pretty mild. It's been wonderful.
Last year was so hot.
It has been.
All right, normally I can't get you at these. I can't get you to, because you are so busy with Best Aviation Products and Best Tugs.
Yeah.
How come you're able to get over here and chat with us?
Sometimes you need a break. So I just want to hang out with friends, walk the show a little bit. So yeah, you give me an excuse to just go be nobody and play.
Well, we're glad you decided to come hang out with us.
That's the best part.
When I was reaching out to you to what are we going to talk about, you mentioned that you wanted to talk about how there's been a shift in aviation safety because of social media. What did you mean by that?
Well, there's a few things that appear to me to be more common. And some could say, hey, we don't need to see that. It could put aviation in a bad light. But sometimes we need to be eyes wide open to the risks of aviation. And what I mean by that is we're seeing more and more people that are showcasing the accidents. And it used to be like if there was an accident, you saw it on social media every now and then. But now, like, if there was an accident or a gear up or anything, like we see it on 7 or 8 pages within an hour.
Right.
And I know that can be tough, but every accident has a lesson to be learned.
Yes.
And I think that's a good thing. And if we're eyes wide open, fully aware that our decisions have real consequences, and aviation maybe shouldn't be taken as casually as some of us might take it, then that's a good thing. We'll see a shift towards safety, and I think that's coming out.
Well, you know, as I've shifted the main channel, taking off to aviation news and investigations, we've got this channel that you're watching this on is In the Hangar, which is aviation lifestyle. As I've covered news through the last couple years, I am a significantly different pilot today than I was 2 years ago.
Well, and I think that's the exact point.
Yeah.
If the more we look at it, the more we get it. I used to, my whole life, I grew up in the 80s, bikes with no helmets and no brakes,
Right.
Foot in the back tire to slow down if a car pulled out in front of you because you were on the highway. Like, we did stupid stuff in the 80s. And that kind of carried through until finally helmets came out and this and that came out. But as soon as you start, 20 years ago, I got on search and rescue. And then you start bringing bodies home in bags.
Right.
And then I tell my kids, I'm like, this is how this person died. This is how that person died. And all of a sudden it's like, I don't rock climb without a rope anymore. I don't ride my mountain bike without a helmet. I don't get on a motocross bike without the full chest gear and the big boots. I don't do it casually because I've been in search and rescue so long and I've seen so much of the aftermath that you just go, okay, I'm gonna shift. And I think that's true for everybody. And so as we see it more, we are all gonna go, okay, I can't be blind to this anymore. I can't ignore it. I can't say that's an outlier. It won't happen to me. We suddenly at one point say, every person that said they would never stall spin, every person that stalled and spun into their grave have all said it would never be them.
Right.
Every person that said, I will never put my gear down, well, I guarantee you if someone forgets and they get out of the plane, the first thing they're saying is, I knew it would never be me, and yet they forgot to put their gear down. And so that's kind of the point. It's like, let's be honest with ourselves. Everybody that said they couldn't let it happen to them, everyone that's had something happen has said it wouldn't happen to them. So let's look at that.
All right, we'll continue this conversation, but we're here at the Flying Eyes booth, where if you go to flyingeyesoptics.com, use our discount code, taking off all caps, one word, you can get 10% off of these incredible glasses.
They're really great. I am so hard on sunglasses and any sort of accessory, really anything, and I was convinced as thin and flexible as they were not going to last around me, but they do.
Best best glasses under headsets and helmets. Also, ClemensInsurance.net. When I switched to them, they saved me over $1,000 on my plane. They go to bat for you with the underwriters, which is what brokers need to do. So go to ClemensInsurance.net. So, but Mark, thank you again for joining us. Let's continue the conversation. And I want to start. I'm going to tell a quick little story. Yeah. Because what you said is you got to me, I take away, you got to know yourself, right? You got to be honest with yourself and not live in denial.
That's it. I think we as humans lie to ourselves more than anybody else. And if we can stop lying to ourselves, and I tell my wife, I'm like, my biggest challenge has always been and will always be to not buy into my own BS.
Right.
And that's what we have to do in aviation, and anything that is unforgiving when you make a mistake.
So, in that vein, I've realized that I try to force it. Yeah. That I have substantial get-there-itis.
Mm-hmm. And you always got a schedule.
It's a real thing. We have schedules, we're busy.
Well, and also, I don't do a whole bunch of flying just for fun. I enjoy mission flying, so I've got a purpose when I go fly.
Yeah.
So, and running a business, it's usually related to business. I got a client waiting for us.
Right.
And we've scheduled a big thing. I can't be late or I can't miss it. So my get-there-itis is already built in. And so a couple years ago, I got caught where the plane had a problem on a deal. Client, we needed to get there and everything else. And I'm stressed, scrambling, and trying to figure out what I'm going to do. And I came out of that with knowing myself that I do have get-there-itis. So I created a procedure. And the procedure is now, whenever I go on a trip, I have a get-there-itis plan. Yeah. And I text it to a couple of my pilot friends that I trust. And
interesting.
The get-there-itis plan is, when I get to the airport, if the plane is not good to go, what am I going to do? Yeah. If the plane has a problem en route, what am I going to do? What is the plan B and C?
Yeah.
And then, so on the way to AirVenture this time, we were stopping for the night at St. Louis, 20 minutes out of St. Louis. I have a major issue. And I'm going to have to land. No pressure. There was no stress because I could go.
You had already decided.
I had plan B. It was already decided. I had somebody back home in the office who's renting the car. We knew exactly. We just switched. It was amazing, and I would not have done that 2 years ago.
You might have said, we can make this work, and pushed.
Or make this work, we could push, or I would have been freaking out, stressed. What am I going to do now?
Well, right. That's the difference, right? It's when our emotions get in that we do stupid things.
And when
Mike, my twin brother Mike, he taught me a beautiful lesson, and he calls it forced vacations. And it's where if anything is looking bad, usually it would be weather or something. We have a 3 strikes you out rule,
right.
And all these different things count
rule.
as a strike. Yeah. Nighttime is a strike. Weather in the area is a strike. And so having to be there is a strike. So if it's nighttime and weather and we have to be there, we're already like 3 strikes, we're out, we're not doing the flight. And there's like 40, 50 things you could add to the strike list for a long time, but it's been good for us. And we still get to do 95% of our flights. But when we get 3 strikes, instead of being like, oh, but like that rule doesn't need to be one of the strikes, let's readjust.
It's really not a big...
We take a deep breath, it's like, forced vacation, and we let go. We just say, we're on vacation. We were going to be at a really important meeting tomorrow, but instead, we're going to the movies. There's a movie I haven't seen. There's always a movie I haven't seen. We're going to go to the movies. We're going to have a steak dinner. We're going to sit back. We're going to relax. We're going to make one phone call and say, we couldn't make it. We'll reschedule, and we're going to be on vacation. And now it's almost like it can almost be too bad the other way, because we're like, hey,
we finally got to get
there. Out of
there's 2 strikes here. I could use an early end of the day.
Oh, look, I stubbed my toe.
Strike 3, we're out. But that's it. And saying, okay, we're on a forced vacation, which is a beautiful thing, takes the emotion out of it. Or it trades one, I need to be there, for another, I get to play tonight instead of I have to be there. And that helps kind of equalize the pressure to show up.
Well, which brings up the most important safety device that you carry in your flight bag, the credit card.
Well, yes, that's the let's have fun tonight, thing.
Yeah.
Now, I still don't have a credit card. I have this phone now. My wife was like, she's like, what if they don't accept your phone? I'm like, who doesn't accept a phone now? But
They don't just serve your business if they don't accept your phone.
if I can't click, yeah.
Well, I think about that a lot. And here's the thing about the trip coming into St. Louis on the way here. Actually could smell burning fire.
Oh yeah,
And
something's really going
good.
south.
So to your point about hearing about everything on social media, the night before I'd done a ton of research and wrote a script on a very sad, tragic case of the Cirrus going into North Carolina that crashed.
Oh right.
And they took off from Cocoa Beach, and they, 20 minutes into their flight, had radio problems, and he said to the ATC, electrical problems. And that he was going to continue his hour and a half left in the flight to destination.
Yeah. Ouch.
So that's in my brain, and I just thinking that through and everything else, I did something for the first time I've ever done. I went ahead and declared an emergency because I've got a potential fire.
And why is that so hard for us?
I know.
Yeah.
Like it's like somehow, and this needs to change.
Yes, it does.
Because declaring
does.
an emergency, I've done it twice,
Okay.
and it was like once you're on the ground, the actual dealing with the FAA was a non-event. It was a friendly
It
phone
was
call, glad everything worked
5 minutes
out.
answering the questions for the people, the fire trucks.
Yeah.
And then I know that in 3 weeks I'm going to get a call from the FSDO who's going to a 3-minute call and see where you're at.
And I never even had any paperwork.
Man.
It was a phone call. How was it? And I'm sure in other events, if there's things, there's reasons for that. But it's almost like declaring an emergency is some sort of a admission of failure. And
Right.
no, declaring an emergency is I am not willing to lie to myself about the fact that there's an issue here that could get much worse.
And
Right.
It's really a problem. There's so much fear of the administration, the administrative process, which I'm familiar with.
Yeah, that's a good
that-
point.
Yeah, that people are willing to risk their lives for avoiding those phone calls, avoiding that paperwork.
Yeah, and I think everybody needs to work on that. Pilots need to
Absolutely.
accept that, hey,
It's not that bad.
it's not that bad. It's
Right.
not a big deal. And maybe there's things the FAA can do to make it not feel so scary when
Not
they call you.
So much the iron fist.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
What's the thing we see in about half the FBOs in America that says, "I'm from the FAA and I'm here to help," and it's always
Exactly.
it's
It's a
We're
joke.
not happy
It's a
unless
joke,
you're not
and
happy.
it's like it would be great if and maybe it'll shift that way more, but it would be nice to see that people can loosen up on both sides
Right.
Yeah.
and recognize we're all just trying to stay alive.
Well, and there's another side to that too. So I was training for my IFR, and we were coming back from a training flight, and I had my CF5 course there.
Yeah.
We just finished. We were 5 minutes out from the airport with 172 with a G1000, and I got a low voltage enunciator. First time that had ever happened to me. Now I'm very experienced in that regard. But first time it ever happened, she's sitting there and she tells me, Dan, let the tower know you got low voltage, but make sure you stress to them it is not an emergency. And so rule of primacy, that's what goes in my head.
Yeah.
Flash forward a year or two later, I'm flying my 210 into the New York City airspace for the first time at night, and I get a low voltage enunciator
Yeah.
over Allentown, Pennsylvania.
Right.
So in my head, I got it. So you hear it on the tapes twice. I tell them, I'm not declaring emergency. I just have a low voltage enunciator. I'm diverting to Allentown. They rolled the trucks anyway. They declared the emergency for me.
They'll do that.
But my point is, for all the CFIs out there, please, please, please do not instruct your students that it's a bad thing to declare emergency. It's okay to declare emergency. And, far better to declare it and not need it than to need it and not having declared it.
Well, to that point, I mentioned earlier that like everyone that has had a gear up landing knew it would never be them.
Right.
And I can't tell you how many pilots that I've talked to that had a gear up landing that are like, it wasn't that I forgot the gear up, it's that I had a low voltage light, or it's that my radio was spotty. They had some other little thing that
Distraction.
was distracting them, and they got to the airport and then forgot their gear, and that became a real deal because a little deal. And so if you can just let them know, I have an issue and this is what I'm doing, and it's an emergency, not an emergency. If you declare an emergency, you get to do what you want. You don't have to worry about them making you go this way or that way. You can just go straight to an airport, and that's easy, as opposed to added distractions while you're trying to navigate around all the other traffic.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
do what you need to do to deal with the situation. Yeah.
So, if going back to social media, everybody's posting every accident.
Yeah.
We're seeing it all. I like the fact that you're saying that's a good thing, that it reminds us and drives home how we go back to the root, which is stop living in denial, know yourself,
Yeah.
and know your propensities, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, and then make a plan, execute the plan, and have some accountability.
Right. Yeah, it really is that. Every dead pilot knew it wouldn't be them.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. And I think there's another step to that, and something I want to shift. I don't do as many videos as say my brother Mike has done in the past, but I posted a video the other day bringing Perry the Pilatus into a really tight, short airstrip out of a
grass
deep
strip,
canyon,
right?
grass strip, yeah. And it's just
I
a
watched
fun,
that video. It's a good video.
It's a fun video, and then I take off out of there, and all I did was posted the landing and post the takeoff, and it just got so many views, and I thought I did everybody a disservice, because what they saw was a big PC-12 deep in a tight canyon come in and do a beautiful landing. What they didn't see, and what I should have talked about, was the day before my practicing my short field landings out of a steep angle of attack at a small airport where nothing's in the way, because there's coming out of that canyon to hit the airstrip is not where you practice that. You go find an airport where people leave you alone and you can crank tight base to final and be polished. And the day before I was looking at the logbooks. I did 10 landings in a row. How close am I to the line? Like, I worked for that. I worked hard for that before I went into that airstrip. And people should know that. Like, because if they're like, oh yeah, look, a Pilatus can get in there. Like, I would be sick if somebody went in and just said, this is the canyon he flew out of and he hit that airstrip, and they went and balled it up. And it's like, yeah, the plane can do it. You can probably do it. But the preparation goes into it. And even the departure out of there, it's a steep climb, and I should have talked about, here's the temperature, here's my weight, here's why it matters, here's the margin I had, here's the margin I didn't have, and I think that would help. We post really cool stuff, and people have no idea what actually went into the background and preparation for that one little video that got all the views. And I need to do better. And I think I'll go back and try to talk about that landing and say, here's what it is, here's how thin the margins are, here's how much I fly in the backcountry, here's how many hours a year I put on the PC-12, and so that people recognize, yeah, maybe it looked easy, maybe it looked like no big deal, and the reality is, it maybe looked easy, it looked like no big deal because I really worked for it.
The backstory is a story in itself.
The backstory should be part of the story.
Wait a minute. Are you suggesting that we train?
Well, okay.
No, we
not
just know
only
how to do
that,
this.
but you have to sometimes even deal with the pilots that get mad at you for training. And I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I had a Zenith 801 I built for my wife, Susie, and I was wringing that plane out because she wanted to play in the backcountry in that plane. I needed to know what it could do. How tight can it turn? How steep can it turn? How short can I get it coming over a 50-foot obstacle, a 100-foot obstacle? So I was at the airport playing hard,
training hard.
Training hard. Like if I was at a gym, I'd have been the guy drenched in sweat, puking in the trash can. I was working that hard to get to know this airplane. And then some pilot gets on the radio and he says, how about you quit doing the stupid stuff in your airplane and fly a normal pattern?
Quit showing off.
That's the attitude.
Nice.
And I said, I'm just practicing. We're going into the backcountry. this is the place to practice for the backcountry.
A controlled
And I
environment.
left it alone, and I thought, that's something that should be talked about, because if that is really his attitude, and he decides he's going to go into the backcountry, and he's never done a tight base to final to the numbers, as if there's a tree that he's rounding, and he's practicing it for the first time, coming out of the canyon around the tree with the wind switching up on you, that guy is dead.
Yeah.
He's freaking dead. You don't practice that in the canyon. You practice that at your home airport, without other people around, without houses to hit, without trees, without the winds, until you can get the plane to do it every single time, because guaranteed in the backcountry, all the other variables are going to make it 10 times harder anyway. The doing it in the perfect scenario better be 10 out of 10. And so, like, we all need to work. And I don't mean to be too winded at it. When it comes to being in the backcountry, you need to practice the way you do an instrument approach. And like, if I'm going to go in the backcountry, I'm out practicing, and I feel like I'm pretty good in a Cub. And I go out, and before I go in the backcountry, the day before, I'm at the runway, I'm doing all kinds of stuff. I go out in the dirt, I do all kinds of stuff in my familiar places to be polished, to be recurrent in really shaking this airplane out. To not do that, or to have other people at the airport say, don't do that, is to suggest, to me, it's akin or equivalent to suggesting, don't you dare practice those instrument approaches over and over again. Why don't you wait till you're actually in the clouds and in the bumps and in the rain? Go do it then.
Right.
Go do it on the instrument. That's where you should be. It's like, no, like practice VFR in the daytime at your home airport, holding that glide slope airspeed perfectly stable before you go in the clouds. Backcountry flying, same thing. Practice it where the environment is safe and comfortable, then go into the backcountry. And that really comes all the way full circle back to, I take a PC-12 down a tight canyon, roll out tight base to final to a short runway, and nobody knows that, like,
You didn't get lucky.
You
No.
you don't get lucky. That was earned, and maybe bothered people at Spanish Fork. Why is Patey taking Alpha 2 every time in a PC-12? You can use more than 600 feet. And I'm like, no, I have to be stopped in 600 feet every time because I know where I'm going tomorrow. And if I can't hit it 10 out of 10 times at my home airport in
You're
a
not
tight
doing it.
base to final turn, I'm not dropping in that canyon.
Right.
And once I knew I could do it, the outcome was the video, and it's what I expected, and it was a beautiful thing. But we should tell the rest of the story.
All right, we should tell the rest of the story, and we're telling it now. So train. So let's recap real quick. Know yourself.
Yeah, don't lie to yourself either.
Don't lie to yourself. Don't buy your own BS.
Right.
Come up with a plan, execute the plan, have accountability, and train
Yeah.
and for what you're going to do.
And then when you pull it off, if you're doing social media, and I've been terrible at it, like I really need to repent. But like, if you're gonna do it, like, show the practice, show the freaking screw ups.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like, we go out there and when people like, holy crap, landed in 5 feet, airborne in 7. Look at that. And it's like, that was the one video that was like super
Perfect.
great out of 40, like, working, training hard in that gusty wind. But it's the 40 like botched or not as beautiful that got the one. We should show it all.
Okay, that's
Honestly,
a good,
like, swallow the ego and say, no, it doesn't always look that good. It doesn't always look that easy. Let's be honest. Like, it takes work, and it takes mistakes.
that's good. I need to hear that. So, in our flying videos, I need to not be afraid to show the process.
Yeah.
All of it. The good, the bad,
I was
the ugly.
practicing. I bounced it bad. I was hoping nobody was looking, and yet I'm posting it on social media. Here's my botched landing. I'm an idiot, and it's okay.
Yeah.
You have to go through that to get the beautiful
Yeah.
stuff.
Here's how the sausage is made, right?
That's right. Here's how the sausage is made.
Okay, so that's our last point we take away is show the sausage being made.
That's right. It's important.
Well, Mark, thank you so much for coming and sharing these important, hugely important things.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me. I really enjoy it. And it helps remind me, like, these little conversations. We never have a script, we never have a plan. It's like What do we want to talk about? I'm kind of feeling this today. And then as we get done with the conversation, I'm like, yeah, I need to like work harder. I need to do better. Like tell the rest of the story.
Well, because I do all this accident news and aviation news stuff, like I said at the beginning, in 2 years, I'm a totally different pilot. I take a lot of chances, and I don't know how in the world I survived from back then. So,
Right. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like,
and it's because of
how did
all
I make it from the 80s into the 90s? I don't know. I don't even know how I survived the 90s.
And so now today, that's one of the good things about all the quick social media news about all this crash and that crash. A lot of people look at it and go, we need to not report that. But no, this is a good part.
Let's look at it. Let's look at it and let's understand it and then not lie to ourselves about it. All those dead pilots knew it would never be them. That's a reality. And we're no different. We're all just humans being humans. We have to cut ourselves some slack and some grace and like breathe and be okay. But like, there's no perfect pilot. There's no perfect human. Let's like help each other out. Let's be honest. Let's work at it. Let's do better. Let's tell the rest of the story.
Nice. Well, thanks, Mark. And thank you guys for watching. Don't forget our other sponsors. We mentioned two earlier. We also have 67 Designs, the best camera, tablet, iPhone mounts for your car, your plane, your boat. And also at 67D.com, ZVision, XEVision.com. I've got a couple of their landing lights on the wingtips of my 210, and they are just amazing. XEVision.com, Marshall Protective Services, MPSProtects.com, Personal Protection Elevated, and Colton Mortgage for your residential mortgage needs, ColtonTakeoff.com. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
In the hangar.